Getting money, what you say, huh? Getting money, what you say, huh? Getting money,
Yeah,
what you say, huh? Getting money, what you say, huh?
Hey.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. The summer went by like that. It's already time for the kids to go back to school. And as such, the Mommy Money Getter has some tips for you parents who are ready for your kids to get back to school and get off on a good note, right? Because we already know getting these kids back into school is going to be hectic. And on top of that, all of the other things that we have to deal with as far as working, taking care of home, doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, laundry, whatever it is, we have a lot to take care of when it comes to raising kids. So moms and dads, if you're watching, stay tuned for this very, very special back to school. I have some tips for you to make your school year easier, as well as some things that you should do to help your children to be as successful as possible in the 2025-2026 school year. So make sure that you watch all the way to the end, hit that like button, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe to my channel. So with that being said, let's get started. I am the mother of five kids, 5 girls, and 2 grandchildren. I'm also a single mom, and I'm also a stay-at-home mom. So I have a lot on my plate. I work from home, and I also am taking care of so many different things outside of just my home life and myself, right? So things can get pretty hectic during the school year. So I know some of you already experience the same, so you can feel where I'm coming from. The number one thing I do with my children, though, before I drop them off at school is I pray with them every day. I pray with them every day as we're leaving our house so that they can have a blessed day at school. Also, what I love to do as well is to make sure that we get enough rest. I've learned that from when my kids were little. If they don't get enough sleep, it's harder to get them going in the morning. They're stressed. If I don't get enough sleep, then I'm stressed and I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. I have been one of those, oh yeah, let's go. Because I have to get them to school, I have to get to work. They may need snacks. It may be an assembly that day that I have to stay for, so I need to find a parking spot. You name it. So getting enough sleep helps us to leave the house on time, helps us to stay on schedule. Make sure that you are praying with your kids so that they have that foundation. Make sure your children are getting enough sleep and that you are giving them a good breakfast before they leave the house and that they have snacks to take with them. They're at school for about 8 hours from the time you drop them off. And if you live in an area like I do where traffic is crazy during pickups, they can be standing outside and you are in line trying to get them and they're just standing out there in the heat or standing out there in the cold. So make sure they have their snacks. Make sure your kids are prepared for school so that they can have the best day ever at school. You don't want to send your kids hungry, tired, restless. You want them to go to school feeling their best so that they can be focused on the schoolwork and so that they're not irritated and lethargic, right? Right. Another thing you parents want to do is make sure that your kids are neat and clean. And I'm going to give a caveat to that. But make sure your children have baths, their teeth are brushed, make sure that they have lotion on, their hair looks nice. Make sure your kids leave the home feeling good about their appearance, because kids tease at school and you don't want your kids to be people pleasers or concern themselves with the thoughts of others, but you want them to be their most confident selves so that they feel that they are just as good as anyone else and they have that self-esteem that is necessary for individuals to feel successful. Plus, you just want to teach your kids to be clean. That's a part of raising your child. Don't let your kids go outside looking like whatever, because that says to them you don't care about them. If my mom doesn't care how I look when I go to school, why should I care about how I look? I may not matter. Like I said, I have 5 girls, so I try to keep their hair braided. There was a time when one of my daughters, her hair was just like an afro, like a sponge. I would get it braided on Saturday, and by Friday, it was looking like it needed to be taken down. But now that she's older, she knows how to take care of herself because she's been trained that way. I've taught my kids how to shower, how to lotion their bodies up, how to make sure they're clean, their teeth are brushed, and their hair, that they tie their hair down. It took me years of, put your bonnet on, put some lotion on. It took years of doing that because I have 5 girls, but now they're teenagers, and now I don't have to say that. So make sure from the time your kids are little that they know that, because they'll come asking you, where's the lotion? But I buy my kids their own lotion, their own deodorant, so they don't have to ask for those things. I make sure I buy them their own edge control, edge brushes, hair bonnets, scarves, whatever they need. Yes, it's a lot raising a bar, but I make sure they have. But if your children are school age, they are not too young to learn how to run a brush through their hair or to put their wave caps or bonnets on. Teach them early. Train a child in the way that they should go, and they will not depart. Make sure your kids know that they have to be clean. Now, the caveat to that is, what I want to say is make sure you are clean as well. Parents, you are representing your children, and kids, like I said, tease and they bully. Don't give them a reason. And who cares what everybody else thinks? But you want to feel your best and look your best if those people see you. You don't want them thinking that, oh, you're just not taking you serious, because it's unfortunate, but people don't take you serious when you come to school wearing pajamas or bonnets, or when you're at the school looking like you just rolled out of the bed and you don't know if you have to get out the car to go into school for some reason. Just to cut all of that out, make sure you go to that schoolhouse looking like you're there. Make sure you go there looking like you're somebody's mama or daddy, and that you want to be taken serious, because I'm going to tell you, when it comes to the bars, I've had to go and put a few principals and a few teachers in check. And because of the way I conduct myself, the way that I carry myself, they already knew I wasn't one of those parents that you could just play with. And because of that, I've always been able to make sure my kids have been treated to my standards and get the education to my standards. And when I felt like I had an issue or a problem, I was always respected. And I've had principals ask me, how did you get your daughter to be a straight A student? Well, you're an author. Tell me more about yourself. Like, they want to know who I am as a mother, because when I come in there, you might see MMG on here acting a certain way, but when I go to the school, you're going to know that I am educated, you're going to know that I'm a professional, and you're going to know that I'm a mom who cares and means business. Remember, I said I had a caveat to how your kids how their appearance should be at school. Let your kids decide what they want to wear. I don't care if they're 5 years old. Allow your kids that autonomy and independence. Their appearance is a reflection of who they are as a person, and you don't have anything to do with that. Okay, if your child wants purple hair, as long as they are making good grades, as long as they are respectful, let them have purple hair. I feel that when parents don't allow their children to dress the way they want to, and I'm not talking about wearing short skirts or sagging their pants, as long as they are respectful and are dressing within the dress code at school, give them the ability to be able to decide if they want to wear Skechers that light up or Jordans. Those kids don't care about Jordans. The kindergartners, they want the Spider-Man get-ups. Let them do that. Now, the Barbs used to wear whatever I picked out for them. They loved it. If they were at the store with me, I would let them say, can I get this or can I get that? But for the most part, I did choose their clothing for them. And my grandmother used to tell me, like, pick your battles, choose your battles, let them choose their own clothes. And I would always want them to look a certain way, so I would dress them, or they just never complained. But when they got to the age of 10, 11, and 12, oh no, they rebelled. They rebelled. Kamaria, my 18-year-old, she wanted piercings everywhere. I mean, she pierced everything on her face. And I'm like, girl, I didn't want her with the belly piercing, and I didn't want her with like the piercings on the face, but she did have a nose ring and this piercing, and she had all of this. And guess what? By the time she turned 18, she took this out, and she just has a little piercing. And I think she took some of the earrings out of her ear. I'm not sure. And also, I used to like to go to the mall and shop at the big box department stores for them. they weren't having it. They wanted the Sheen fashion, that Fashion Nova stuff. I don't know why, but they felt like, give us the money and let us go ham. And I started letting them do that because it saved me money, and also it took the pressure off of me to go shopping for 3 teenage girls at once. And now I just let them pick out whatever. Like I said, as long as it's not too revealing, and sometimes we fight, we go at them, but I let them decide. They're in high school, and then I go to the high school, and these kids have their pants folded over, they have their belly showing. I'm like, oh my gosh, the girls have long weaves, long lashes. It is what it is. Like I said, as long as your kid is not going to school, getting in trouble, being disruptive, and as long as it's not too out of the way, let them decide. Now, people in my community, we have a bad habit of wanting our kids to look a certain way, wanting to dress them a certain way. And I feel like that restricts their creativity. Let them expand upon their horizons, if nothing else, by the way they're dressed. You never know what you are exposing your child to, or what you can have come to fruition by allowing your kid to dress the way that they want to. It's not going to harm anybody. And go to the school. You're going to see some of everything. Skateboarders, you're going to see rockers, you're going to see kids with their head in spikes. Let those kids be them. They're not hurting anybody. Let them have that form of self-expression. Also, that goes into their mindset. If you're a controlling parent, if you have to control the way your kids dress, if you have to control everything about the things that your kids are doing, that may have some effect on their mental health. So you want to think about that. Now, with that being said, know your child. Know who your child is. Always check in with them. Talk to your kids. Ask them, how was school? On the way home from school, I like to ask my kids, how was your day? And then I get an earful from any one of them. I'm checking out their demeanor as they're walking out of school. I'm scoping out the scene, like, what are the other kids doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? I'm always checking that out. I'm looking at the other kids who are a little bit riotous and are cutting up at school, and I'm looking at my child's friend. What's going on with their peers? How are they responding to that? Do they look like they're having a problematic day? I can always tell, because I'm very perceptive anyway. So I'm going to look at my child, I'm going to question my child, and I'm going to look at their grades. As a parent, you should know everything that's going on with your child. Nothing should be a surprise. You shouldn't get a surprise phone call that your child is failing school. You should already know if something is bothering. And you should also know, not only is your child doing okay at school, but is your child the one cutting up and misbehaving? You should get a handle on that. Now, I believe that if you don't have, and there's studies that show that if you don't have a handle on your kid by the time that they're 4 or 5, you're going to have a tough road to go. So make sure that you're getting your kids those resources. They have them available at the school, and they should help you at the school. Talk to their doctors, see what they need. I'm not an advocate for medicating kids, but some kids need it. And if your child needs it, make sure you get them on medication. Make sure they're in extracurricular activities. Make sure they have a proper outlet for whatever is going on with them, so that they're not bullying at school, or so that they're not being a victim of bullying at school. Parents, you can stop a lot of BS that goes on at that schoolhouse by checking on your kid at home and making sure that your kid is straight. And I know I'm going to ruffle a few feathers with this, but some of you guys care more about how your kids look than how your kids look. You don't care about how they act at school. You don't care about them disrupting the classroom and preventing other children from learning. You don't care if they make good grades. You're just sending them to school and getting them out of your hair for a few hours. No, that's not the proper way to parent. And your kids are a reflection of you. You should want them to be successful, and you should want them to do the very best that they can. So make sure that you are giving them the tools to do that. That means making sure that they have their school supplies. If they have a project coming up, that you have gotten the things on the list so that they can do their project. That also means making sure, like I said, that your kids have a good night's sleep, that they are eating properly, that if they have any mental health issues or any learning disabilities, that all of those things are being addressed so that your kid will have a great outcome. And I know times are hard for everybody. Food costs are up. Everything costs so much money. But our kids still need us and our kids still need things. So if you have to collect cans, if you have to take a few hours up at work, if you have to take up Uber driving or Spark driving, whatever you have to do what you need to do to make sure that you have those extra funds, because you already know all summer long back to school is coming. So make sure that you have a little something set aside so that you can get your kids their school supplies and a new pair of shoes and a couple of tops. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be a spray ground or whatever kind of backpack they're talking about. It doesn't have to be Kurt Geiger or this and that. If you can afford that and you want to do that, that's on you. But if you can't afford that, still make sure your kid is neat and clean. Make sure that their hair is combed and washed. Make sure they have the lotion, and we got Dollar Tree, so there's just no excuse. There's no excuse to ever not show up for your kid and make sure they have what they need. There's too many schools giving away backpacks and school supplies for you not to be able to get your child what they need. So with that being said, I think I've said it all. Keep them kids clean, keep them kids well fed, make sure they get their rest, and tap into their mental health. Make sure that you are keeping that connection and that open dialogue going so that your kids know you are a safe space for them. Make sure that you are also allowing your kids to be independent, to show who they are and what they are made of, and that you are not just putting too much pressure on them. That's another thing too. So many parents are, oh, you got to get straight A's, oh, you got to make the basketball teams, and they're not considering how their children may be feeling, right? Again, thanks for watching. I hope these tips that I have given you will assist you with this new upcoming school year, with staying on schedule, staying on task, and giving your kids the best foot forward to having a successful school year. Remember, it's about the children first of all and foremost, not about you. I don't care if you have to work. I don't care if you're a single mom. Your kids come first, and you've got to show up for them, and you've got to make it happen for them, because if you don't and your kids fail, you're the one to blame. Not the school, not the baby daddy that didn't show up, not the mom who is cutting up. Whoever has custody of those kids, do what you got to do. There are plenty of resources available, plenty of Facebook groups that you can get with for encouragement and support. Do all those things so that you can be the best parent that you can be for your kid. Thanks for watching.